You know that thing where you get an amazing pair of shoes at a really great price and want to tell everyone about it? Yeah, so do we. Here at Designer Shoe Warehouse, we'll give you something to brag about, like the latest styles from brands you love, or the trends everyone's obsessing over, or shoes that make you feel like, well, you. So go ahead, show off a little. Find shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. Head to your DSW store or DSW.com today. DSW, let us surprise you.
I wrote a little song to remind you, Choice Hotels get you more of the experiences you value. The Cambria Hotel's got it all. A rooftop bar, have a ball. Cocktails up here feel just right. Is Cambria amazing? All right. Bring a date, your team, or even your mom. Book direct at choicehotels.com. See you on the roof.
Voices for Justice is a podcast that uses adult language and discusses sensitive and potentially triggering topics, including violence, abuse, and murder. This podcast may not be appropriate for younger audiences. All parties are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Some names have been changed or omitted per their request or for safety purposes. Listener discretion is advised.
My name is Sarah Turney, and this is Voices for Justice. Today I'm discussing the case of Kortne Stouffer. In the early morning hours of July 29, 2012, 21-year-old Kortne vanished from her apartment in Palmyra, Pennsylvania. But this wasn't a quiet night. There were people outside of her door. Arguments, noise complaints, police calls, neighbors who were awake and paying attention. But by the morning, Kortne was gone. This is the case of Kortne Stouffer. It's about 9 p.m. on Saturday, July 8, 2012, and 21-year-old Kortne Stouffer and her boyfriend, 19-year-old Brad Hare, are having some friends over at their apartment in Palmyra, Pennsylvania. They've been together for about a year and recently took the next step in their relationship by living together, so it's a really exciting time in both of their lives. But the party ends with the police breaking it up. Some reports say that there was a noise complaint, while others say that neighbors reported underage drinking after seeing people bringing in cases of beer. Either way, the Palmyra police respond, along with Lebanon County Adult Probation, who was there specifically for Brad. At this time, Brad was on house arrest for driving under the influence, so he's taken in for violating the terms of his probation. According to reporting by Leah Hall for Fox 43 News, out of the 7 people in the apartment that night, Kortne was the only person who was of legal drinking age. By the end, outside of Brad, 2 people are given citations for drinking underage and the party's broken up. This left Kortne alone in the apartment for the night. So she calls her mom, Wendy. Wendy says Kortne was very upset and concerned that Brad might go to prison for violating the terms of his probation. Kortne also tells her mom that she's pretty sure it was their neighbors who called the police specifically to get Brad arrested. It's a bad night. Kortne is very upset, and Wendy of course tries to comfort her and offers to have her come stay at her house for the night, but Kortne declines. Instead, she decides to go out and try to get her mind off of things. So she calls her older brother Ryan. She says she's had a rough day, she needs to unwind, and asks if he can go out with her that night, but Ryan isn't available. According to the Lebanon County District Attorney's official timeline, at 10:07 p.m. she gets a text from her friend Cody Pruitt. He invited her to join him and their other friend, Milton Rodriguez, at a bar called the Gas Station Kitchen and Bar in Hummelstown, Pennsylvania. So Kortne makes the about 15-minute drive to join them, but after a while they decide it's time to go to another bar. Kortne leaves her car at the gas station bar, and their designated driver, Cody, drives Milton's car to take them to the 2nd Street area of Pennsylvania. This is about 20 minutes away, and it's essentially the main nightlife and bar hub in downtown Harrisburg. Of course, Kortne's still worried about Brad. She's talking about it. That's really just where she is mentally right now. Then, at about 1:50 a.m., the group was at the hardware bar when Kortne approached a man named Arvard Brown. According to some accounts of this night, she confronts him about her belief that he'd broken into her apartment a few weeks before. She basically accuses him of stealing money and weed from her, which he denies. Most reporting says that Kortne really begins to argue more heavily with Arvard's girlfriend, though. Either way, this ends with security asking Kortne to leave the bar, and at this time she's separated from her friends. The timeline is a little fuzzy, but they eventually leave the bar too, and they meet up to grab pizza before calling it a night. At about 2:45 a.m., Cody drops off a couple that was also with them that night, then Milton at his home, and finally takes Kortne back to her car at the gas station kitchen and bar. According to the episode of Disappeared about Kortne, she'd sobered up by this point, but Cody says that he still wants to make sure that she gets home okay, so he follows behind her as she drives back to her apartment in Palmyra. They get to Kortne's apartment at about 3 a.m. Now, Cody doesn't go home at this point. He stays the night. But things don't settle down from here. What happened in the next few hours depends on who you ask. But by morning, one thing was undeniable. Kortne was missing. This episode of Voices for Justice is sponsored by Hers. Losing weight is one thing, but keeping it off is where it gets really frustrating. That's why Weight Loss by Hers now offers access to the FDA-approved Wegovy pill and the FDA-approved Wegovy pen. Wegovy is designed to help you lose weight and keep it off. If you're not familiar with Hers, everything is 100% online. They'll connect you with a licensed provider who will determine if treatment is even right for you. If prescribed, your medication is delivered right to your door. No insurance necessary. And it doesn't stop there. Weight Loss by Hers goes beyond medication by offering access to 24/7 messaging with your care team. And they have tons of in-app lifestyle and nutrition tips, like recipes, meal plans, fitness videos, sleep content, and more. If you're looking for a personalized treatment plan, I definitely recommend checking out Hers. Ready to reach your goals? Visit forhers.com/crime to get personalized, affordable care that gets you. That's forhers.com/crime. forhers.com/crime. Weight Loss by Hers is not available in all 50 states. Wegovy is the registered trademark of Novo Nordisk AS. To get started and learn more, including important safety information, Wegovy clinical study information, and restrictions, visit forhers.com. This episode of Voices for Justice is sponsored by Quince. It is summer in Phoenix, y'all, which means every single day it's getting hotter. That also means a completely different wardrobe for me. And Quince has exactly what I need. Breathable linen, soft organic cotton, washable silk, all the luxury without the markup. Quince works directly with ethical factories and cuts out the middlemen, so you're paying for quality, not brand markup. And it's not just clothing. Quince has really become a destination for elevated essentials across home, kitchen, bedding, and beyond. You guys, I feel like I've tried every category across Quince. I've had their washable silk pillowcases. I've had items for my home. I've had travel accessories, purses, and of course, a ton of clothing. But what I reach for every single day in the summer are my Quince linen dresses and my cotton tank tops. Not only are they lifesavers, but they just look amazing. Especially my linen dresses. I can throw them on with a pair of wedges and instantly look polished. Elevate your summer wardrobe. Go to quince.com/justice for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/justice for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/justice.
You have one new message. Translating. Disney and Pixar's Hoppers is now available on Disney+.
You could say that again.
Critics are calling it Pixar's funniest movie ever and a wildly entertaining ride. Blizzard Potato. It's certified fresh and verified hot.
Now we party.
This is incredible!
Wow, I am clearing the rest of the day.
Disney and Pixar's Hoppers, now available on Disney+. Rated PG.
In the early morning hours of Sunday, July 29th, 2012, 21-year-old Kortne Stouffer is just getting home from a pretty rough night. Her party was broken up, her boyfriend Brad was arrested for violating probation, and she was asked to leave after getting into a verbal altercation at a bar. But she does make it home safe to her apartment, accompanied by her friend Cody Pruitt, and the chaos of the night really just continues. At about 3 a.m., Kortne gets into a verbal altercation with her neighbors Janice Reimenschneider, Rick Sheets, and Todd Saksek. She accuses them of calling the police on her and Brad, but Rick Sheets calls the police and reports that Kortne is threatening him. They get there at 3:15 a.m., and as you might expect, we get some conflicting stories here. Kortne tells the police that she was just out walking her dog Sheba when her neighbors came out of their respective apartments and began screaming at her. But they say that Kortne was the one who was being loud and unruly. Todd Saksek specifically tells police that Kortne also kicked him in the leg. But in the end, it seems that police believe that everyone is intoxicated and just tells them to all go home. They also warn them that if they're called back, someone is going to jail. So police leave the scene at 3:49 a.m. But not long after, at 4:11 a.m., Todd Saksek calls the police to report that Kortne was making threats toward him and other neighbors. He says he can hear her screaming, stomping, and slamming doors in her apartment. Police get back to the scene at 4:31 a.m., where Saksek tells them he believes Kortne is doing this on purpose to aggravate him and other neighbors. So the officers go to Kortne's apartment, but no one answers the door. They hear a dog barking and then quiet down. They knock again, and the dog barks again, but there's still no answer at the door. So they look through the patio door and a window to see what's going on, but they don't see anything. No sign of a struggle, nothing alarming, so they leave. But the matter wasn't over for Todd Saksek. According to the episode of Disappeared, he went back into his unit and left a voicemail for the landlord. He was described as sounding irate, and he demanded that they do something about Kortne. He allegedly says that if they won't, he will. And Todd is not ready to drop this. At 7:30 a.m., he goes to the Palmyra Police Department to make a formal complaint against Kortne. He wants her charged for kicking him. And really around the same time, just before 8 a.m., Cody says he's just waking up at Kortne's apartment. But he doesn't see Kortne anywhere. He calls out for her, but she doesn't answer, so he leaves. From there, he makes a purchase at a nearby store, which is captured by surveillance video. Then he sends a text to Kortne saying, quote, "Hey, what happened to you?" End quote. But Kortne doesn't text back. Cody then goes to Milton Rodriguez's house. He still has his car, so he drops off Milton's car, picks up his own, then drives back to his house in the Hummelstown area to get ready for work. He texts Kortne again at 12:36 p.m. and 1:58 p.m., but there's still no response. Now, around the same time, Kortne's grandfather and older brother Ryan are excited for their annual tradition of attending the local fair/farm show. They've been going since they were little kids, and even showed their animals there when they were in the 4-H club. This isn't something Kortne would just forget about. So when she doesn't show, and she's not answering any calls or texts, her family is immediately concerned. Kortne's younger brother Austin was only 13 when she went missing, but in 2025 he spoke to Como News and said that their mom Wendy and one of his brothers went to Kortne's apartment to see what's going on. When they get there, this is what they find. Kortne's car was still outside with all of the windows rolled down. Then they see that her front door is wide open. The porch light is on, and inside they can hear Sheba barking. When they get inside, nothing is out of place. There's no sign of a struggle, and nothing seemed to be missing. But Sheba was there alone, and apparently for a while because they had an accident on the rug. Wendy says this is extremely odd because she walks Sheba all the time. I mean, we know that when Kortne got home from the bar, pretty much the first thing she did was take Sheba out. And just as an aside, I do think it's extremely worth noting that Sheba is a black lab and Kortne's childhood dog she got when she was 8. I mean, obviously Sheba was technically a family dog, but between her and her siblings, Kortne was the one to take Sheba when she moved out. So this is definitely a huge red flag. And as they continue to go through the apartment, they see that Kortne's keys and shoes were left by the front door as usual. But the TV was on, and the air conditioning was left on full blast. Then they go into Kortne's bedroom. On the nightstand, they find her purse with money still inside, her cigarettes, and her cell phone, which was plugged in. When Wendy picked it up, she saw 18 missed calls. At this point, Wendy calls Kortne's father, Scott. They were divorced at this point, but after 19 years of marriage and 5 kids, they were committed co-parents. Scott comes over right away, and when he sees the missed calls on Kortne's phone, he ends up calling Cody, who basically recounts the entire night just as I told you. And at 2:42 p.m., he reported his daughter missing to the Palmyra Police Department. But, as we know happens all too often, they tell Kortne's parents to sit and wait to see if she'll come back. Finally, when Kortne was still gone on July 31st, both the Palmyra Police Department and Lebanon County detectives begin investigating. Kortne's apartment is closed off as they begin to process the scene. And then Wendy and Scott see something that concerned them. Todd, the neighbor who Kortne got into a fight with, was taking several trash bags out of his unit. They also said he wouldn't talk to them or make eye contact with them. See, the night/morning that Kortne went missing wasn't the first time she'd had issues with her neighbors. According to statements from her family, she didn't really get along well with any of them, and there were noise complaints in the past. But Todd seemed to be the one that she had the most trouble with. She told people that he was creepy and that she didn't like him. And just a week before she disappeared, she told her mom that Todd had been videotaping her outside. So when they see Todd carrying all these trash bags, it definitely piques their interest. And over the next few days and weeks, investigators do follow up. Todd tells them that the trash bags were from a home improvement project. He also lets the police search his home and vehicle. In the end, Todd says that while he thought that Kortne was troublesome, he had nothing to do with her disappearance. And the police have been clear that they've never found anything that points to him being involved. As far as the other 2 neighbors, they were also cooperative with investigators and allowed them to search their units as well. Ultimately, while police find no signs of a struggle or anything missing in Kortne's apartment or around any of the units, they quickly consider her to be a victim of foul play. And of course, they want to talk to Cody Pruitt.
Want to elevate your travel experience? Here's how. With a Delta SkyMiles Reserve American Express card, you can relax before your flight in the Delta Sky Club with up to 15 visits per medallion year. And now through July 15th, 2026, you can earn up to 125,000 bonus miles, so you're closer to your next adventure. The Delta SkyMiles Reserve card. Check out the new design at www.delta.com/Spotify. Minimum spending requirements and terms apply.
Are you one of those media strategy people clicking through slides, scrolling spreadsheets? Yes? Good. This is for you. Because on Spotify, there's an audience that's different, locked in, loyal, invested. They're called fans. Fans don't just listen to music, they feel seen by it, like it belongs to them. So when your brand shows up on Spotify, that's who you're talking to. And you're right next to artists like me, Lizzo. So, are you ready to talk to fans? Spotify advertising. You're among fans.
As investigators are going down the list of people Kortne Stouffer interacted with before she went missing, of course, they want to talk to the person who last saw her, the man who stayed in her apartment that night, Cody Pruitt. And according to investigators, he's been cooperative. He says that after speaking with police, Kortne was still upset, and confirms the neighbor's account of her yelling and stomping to bother them on purpose. But he says that he calmed her down and they just went to bed after that. And this is the detail that really sticks with me. When he woke up a few hours later, he says that he didn't check every room in the apartment, but he says that he just called out to Kortne, didn't get a response, and left. So Cody can't say for sure whether or not Kortne was even in the apartment. But from there, we know that the police have some semblance of his whereabouts, with video surveillance capturing him at a nearby store that morning. Cody has never officially been named a suspect or person of interest in this case. In fact, no one has. Milton, the man who let Cody borrow his car that night, has been reported as being helpful to the investigation. His car and home were searched as well. Of course, Kortne's boyfriend Brad has the most airtight alibi out of all of them since he was in jail while all of this was happening. He was released a few days later. And while police have said that he wasn't very cooperative, some have attributed that to an overall distrust of law enforcement versus a sign of guilt. So take that for what you will. But really, in all of our digging for this episode, we didn't find anything to say that Kortne wasn't happy with Brad outside of the trouble he was getting into with the police. Police have also said that everyone who had contact with her that night was interviewed multiple times. Some even took polygraph tests. But because this is an active investigation, the results of them have not been released. So it seems that Arvard and his girlfriend, who Kortne accused of robbing her before she went missing, were also looked into. But that's about all we know. Luckily, Kortne's family and her community were not going to be quiet about this. Just a few days after Kortne went missing, her family held a candlelight vigil outside of the police department, and over 200 people came to show their support. A week later, the Palmyra Fire Department organized an official search for Kortne, and so many people came out to help that they had to turn them away. Now, the searchers, along with a K-9 unit, combed through about a 2-mile radius around her apartment, but nothing was found. Her community and family held different fundraisers like dances and car washes, and they sold tie-dye shirts that read, "Come Home, Kortne." Before long, the reward for information hit $50,000. But even with all of these efforts, nothing was found to point to what could have happened to Kortne. Then, as we unfortunately see, weeks turned into months, and months turned into 2 years. And that's when it seemed like there was something that was going to move this case forward. In 2014, Kortne's mom, Wendy, started getting emails from a woman named Amanda. She said that she and Kortne were friends and overheard a troubling conversation. According to Amanda, she heard some guys talking about how they broke into her apartment to steal weed and cash, just like Kortne said Arvard did. But in this story, during the break-in, they killed her, wrapped her in a blanket, and weighed her body down in a local lake. Amanda also told Wendy that she had visions of Kortne floating around her house. I mean, obviously this is just a horrific story, but it also seems to be rooted in something that Kortne said previously. However, Kortne's mom, Wendy, was rightfully skeptical. None of Kortne's friends that Wendy knew said that they knew anyone named Amanda, so she figures it's some kind of cruel hoax or something. But then Amanda reaches out to Kortne's dad, Scott. She tells the same story about Kortne being put in a lake. So he's like, enough is enough, and he goes to investigators about Amanda. And they thoroughly investigate this claim. They search a nearby lake about 12 miles away from Kortne's apartment, but they don't find anything. In the end, Amanda changes her story a few times, and Kortne's family doesn't have much faith that she's telling the truth. But some people can't let go of the theory that maybe Kortne was right all along, that Arvard really did rob her. And it's worth noting that Arvard does have a criminal history that includes robberies. He and 3 other men broke into the home of a woman and her 9-year-old son. They had masks on and were holding guns. One of them held the victims at gunpoint while the others ransacked their home. They did leave without harming the woman, who immediately called police. Of course, they were later arrested and pled guilty to burglary, theft, and other charges. At 25 years old, Arvard was sentenced to 5 to 10 years in state prison. So between what Kortne said and what Amanda said, some people still wonder. But there is an issue with the break-in theory. Cody was sleeping there that night and says that he didn't hear anything. Wendy also told the Vanished podcast that she didn't believe that Kortne would have gone anywhere quietly. Plus, when Wendy got to the apartment, she said that it didn't appear ransacked, and that there was cash out in different places. So, I mean, this is just speculation, but it seems that if somebody did go into her apartment that night, it likely wasn't to rob Kortne, but to harm her. Which really does bring us back to Cody, who was Arvard's friend. So one theory is that Cody may have let Arvard or someone else into the apartment to harm Kortne. And all the screaming and stomping heard by her neighbors was really just her being harmed. But of course, there are other people who might want to harm a beautiful young woman as well. And the DA, David Arnold, has made a statement along these lines. He said that if Kortne had connection with people who sold drugs like marijuana, that maybe someone connected to that type of criminal activity is to blame. Though we really don't know who any of those people would be. Again, this is just speculation, and according to Kortne's family and investigators, there was no sign of a struggle or foul play in the apartment. Another theory is that something happened to Kortne after Cody left. Again, his official story is that he didn't check every room of her apartment before leaving. If that's true, it's possible that she slept through him calling out for her, Cody left, and someone else came in who took or harmed her. I mean, other than that, it feels like the only other possibilities are Kortne going willingly, walking out of her apartment and leaving behind her childhood dog, her money, and her entire life behind. Or walking out and being met with some type of foul play. Unfortunately, that is pretty much where Kortne's case is today. It feels like we have so much that has amounted to so little in this investigation, and it's clear how hard it's been for her family. According to reporting by Ann Reeves for Penn Live, Kortne is one of 5 children. She's Scott and Wendy's second-born and oldest daughter. Not all the kids have been named in the media, but there are only 10 years between the oldest and the youngest, so I have to imagine that they were all pretty close. They grew up on a 10-acre farm where they would camp, hike, ride four-wheelers, or just float down the river, one of Kortne's favorite things to do. At least outside of bringing home every stray animal she could, according to her dad. He says Kortne would plead her case that they were in distress and in need of a good home, and he rarely told her no. But Sheba was always her favorite. Unfortunately, she did pass away not long after Kortne went missing. It feels like so much of Kortne's life is missing from these stories about her case as they focus on the last few hours before she went missing, which of course is understandable. I just want to make sure that you know she wasn't just a young woman who annoyed her neighbors or was asked to leave a bar. She really does seem like an amazing person who we know is very missed. Now, Kortne's case was featured by Candace Scalise with Como News for the 13th anniversary of her disappearance in 2025. And there's a photo of Kortne's dad Scott in the kitchen. On his table by the window are pictures of Kortne. He says every morning he gets up and makes sure he sees his daughter's face. Quote, "It's hard every day, just not being able to hold her, tell her that I love her, and just get to see her, get married, have children, everything that a father looks to. I would just like people to remember that when you see something that makes you smile in a day, that's Kortne. Yeah, if you see something that brightens you up, a rainbow after the rain, or a color that you're just like, who would wear that? That's Kortne. Like truly, that's what I would like people to remember about her." End quote. And her brother said, quote, "I definitely miss the smell of her dreads. Her dreads were always, they had this like musty kind of like perfume. That's always something I come back to remember in my head. And it's like my sister was the hippie that freaking everybody loved and loved hanging around. That's how she was. She would help you, give you like the shirt off her back, and would always be there to help you if you fell down. You know, she was a very, very kind person." End quote. But as Scott told Candace Scalise in that same article, they aren't the type of family to just give up or wait for answers. They're determined to figure this out. The reward for information is up to $100,000 now, thanks in large part to her family fighting for her. And they make sure to drum up that media pressure every single July by doing something Kortne loved. Basically, each year they pick a day to have the community along with Kortne's loved ones float down the river. Then that night, they go to the family farm for food, live music, and a Chinese lantern release. 2025 marked 12 years that they've been doing this. Which brings me right to our call to action. Please share Kortne's story. While her case has gotten some national media attention, it hasn't been as active in the media in recent years. Her family has truly put in so much time, work, and effort to find answers. And while they do have amazing support from their local community, we have the opportunity to strengthen that even more. I also encourage you to follow the Facebook page run by her family. So many people have never given up hope on finding Kortne, so please take a moment to show them that we are right there behind them. As a reminder, 21-year-old Kortne Stouffer was last seen in the early hours of July 29, 2012, in Palmyra, Pennsylvania. She is white, 5'8", between 115 to 120 pounds, with blonde hair and green eyes. She also has 3 distinct tattoos, one on her right arm that reads "One Love," 3 stars on the top of her right foot, and one on her left side of a pistol and flowers. Anyone with information is urged to contact their local FBI office, or you can submit a tip online at tips.fbi.gov. But, as always, thank you, I love you, and I'll talk to you next time. Voices for Justice is hosted and produced by me, Sarah Turney, and is a Voices for Justice media original. This episode contains writing and research assistance by Jessica Quaz. If you love what we do here, please don't forget to follow, rate, and review the show in your podcast player. It's an easy and free way to help us and help more people find these cases in need of justice. Welcome to the Secret After Show. The studio door is open and our emotional support puppies are in the room. Let's go right into the case. Okay guys, I do want to make a formal apology for telling you about Sheba. But when we talk about the effect that this has on people, we can't leave out the dogs too. I mean, when I found out about Sheba, I could not stop crying, you guys. I could not stop crying. So I'm really sorry, and I have no proof that Kortne going missing directly impacted Sheba, but common sense tells me otherwise. So I'm really sorry about Sheba, but it does bring me to a different point, and that's about dogs and people going missing. This has to be, I don't know, the 25th, the 50th. It feels like every other case, especially when it comes to missing people, right? The telltale sign is, oh my gosh, their dog isn't being taken care of. And I think that is one of those things that is so critical. In your mind, it makes so much sense, right? Anybody who knows me, if you came to my house and my dogs weren't taken care of, the world has ended or something. My life revolves around my dogs. And there's a lot of people like that. There's a lot of, people who love their dogs very, very much, like Kortne. And what I think is interesting is it's such a no-brainer for us, right? That red flag pops up, that red flag means something. But it made me start thinking of how that doesn't usually mean much in court. I don't know. And I know I have a personal gripe with the courts, right? And common sense and what's taken as evidence and what isn't. And I understand the legal parameters behind not being able to include an element like that. Does Kortne leaving Sheba alone prove that something bad happened? Not definitively, but for everybody around her, they immediately knew that something was wrong. And I feel like there's value to stuff like that we don't see make it into the court system. I don't know, you guys tell me, am I way out of left field here? Do I care too much about my dogs? Or does that make sense to you? I don't know, that makes sense to me. But moving on, I do want to talk about media perception in this case. As I was going through different articles and videos and stuff like that, I just saw the media playing that same old game of wild party girl, night ends in disaster, you know what I mean? As if most of us weren't young once, went out drinking, had a house party, maybe had a verbal confrontation with somebody. I feel like these are things that are very normal for kids these age to do. And I will say kids, if you're under 21, like you might as well like be a child to me. At least that's how I'm going to treat you at my larger age. So I don't know. I just wanted to mention, like, I just hate when the media does that. Because what it does is sometimes, and I see it, don't tell me it doesn't happen, right? Because I see it in my comments, I see it when you guys message me. People will say, like, this person did this bad thing, so why should we even care about them? Or she was partying, that was obviously her lifestyle. She probably did this to herself. So the way that the media portrays these victims, these people who go missing, people who are murdered, whatever it might be, it does make a difference. And I know that this is an older case. I mean, especially around 2012, when I'm looking up these like archival articles and stuff, it is kind of just the name of the game back then. But I do still see it sometimes today. And I think that we do like harshly criticize those people more, right? Like now when the media just like openly bashes somebody who went missing, it's usually not the best response. But again, I still see it. And I just want to implore you guys that if you do see some like terrible headline like that, please like take a second, go a bit further, and just know that like unless you did some crazy harm to somebody, if you're just partying, if you're dealing with substance use disorder, if you're a sex worker, whatever that might be, you still deserve to be found. Now, last but not least, I think one of the most talked about things in this case is really, I think, like the crux of it all and why it's so frustrating is like, how did so many people interact with Kortne that night? How were there so many people, neighbors, right, that were seeing and hearing things and calling the police all night? So like, how does Kortne just go missing? If we're tracking Kortne from 3 a.m. till almost 5 a.m., somebody's at the police station at, 7 a.m. making a report or whatever. If we're tracking everything this girl is doing and we can hear every footstep or whatever in her apartment, how does she just go missing? I don't know, guys. I don't know. And it's funny because that being said, let's go into media discrepancies, right? Because it's funny because you'll see some articles like really slant towards one person. Or, like disappeared, slants towards somebody else. So who do you choose? I don't know. That just felt like it should belong under media discrepancies because in this case in particular, like the bias was showing is all I gotta say. And of course, like whenever there's an episode of Disappeared, there's always misinformation. Like, and not just Disappeared. Like, I'm not just gonna pick on them. Usually these docuseries, whatever you want to call them, these TV shows that cover the cases in like a smaller amount of time, they just like gloss over things or like round out numbers and stuff. So it's just a little bit different. But some of the discrepancies that have been reported are like whether or not Kortne's door was open, which is a big deal. I actually went to shout out to the Vanished podcast. I talked about it. But Marissa over there talked to her mom, and her mom said that when she got to the door was open. So that's what I picked. There were other things like what time Cody woke up, but usually that was between like 7:30 and just before 8 a.m. So that's why I said just before 8 a.m. And sometimes they just like compress everything that happened with the party into the night out and kind of blur those things. Other than that, there really wasn't much I was going to get picky over. Like, sometimes they get the brothers' names wrong. Sometimes they just get the days wrong. I guess one of the things was, like, what day did the fair happen on? That was one that there was just a lot of conflicting reporting. But overall, I wouldn't say that this is, like, the worst that I've covered. So let's move on to the hero of the episode. I'm going to say the community of Palmyra. The way that they've come together, my goodness, to have volunteers being turned away, to have a demonstration at the police station with 200 people is insane and amazing. And of course, like all the financial help, right? All the fundraisers and the reward up to $100,000 is so incredible. And of course, like their family, right? Or her family. Kortne's family was so instrumental, especially her parents, coming together. Shout out to you, Scott and Wendy, for putting your differences aside and co-parenting effectively together, by the way. That is amazing. It's not always seen. It's just really great to see, best case scenario for family, right? They're coming together. They're notifying each other of, Kortne not showing up. They did a fantastic job, and so did the community of Palmyra. But let's go on to our segment of hope. This is from June 9th, 2026, from Fox 13 Seattle, written by Connor Sarles. The title reads, Human Remains Found in Chelan County, Washington, Identified as Woman Missing Since 1986. According to the sheriff's office, a person called 911 to report finding human remains in a wooded area on May 10th. Sheriff's detectives, Washington State Patrol Crime Lab experts, and the Chelan County coroner processed the scene and recovered part of a human skull. It says that they did conduct a sweep of the area, but no other human remains were found. So the skull piece was sent to the King County Medical Examiner's office. And it looks like there was really no delay. They immediately identified it as belonging to Patricia Collier. She went missing in 1986. At that time, she was 38 years old and last seen on the 4th of July. Her boyfriend reported her missing out of Tacoma. And it looks like they were able to identify her remains due to a relative submitting a DNA sample more than 20 years ago. Now, it looks like they can't really tell much. It's just a partial fragment of a skull, it looks like, and her death remains undetermined. But the investigation has been turned over to the Tacoma Police Department, and they are asking anyone with information about her disappearance to contact the Tacoma Police. Again, guys, I know that this was another short one, but I love featuring these stories, right? I know that it's tough, because her family probably has a lot more questions now. But I really hope that this is just the beginning of them getting the answers to those questions. So, as always, thank you, I love you, and I'll talk to you next time.
This is a Monday.com ad. The same Monday.com helping people worldwide getting work done faster and better. The same Monday.com designed for every team and every industry. The same Monday.com with built-in AI, scaling your work from day one. The same Monday.com that your team will actually love using. The same Monday.com with an easy and intuitive setup. Go to Monday.com and try it for free. Yes, the same Monday.com.